Hey everyone, welcome back to the Amtrag channel. I'm Jake with our tech support group, and today I'm going to be showing you how to install our tractor seat with the rear support bracket on our 1420XL, 1420, and 1416 trikes. So first we're going to cover the parts and tools that you need for your assembly today. Starting over here, we have our 15mm wrench that came with your trike. If you don't have this wrench anymore, you can just use a 14mm wrench. That's all we'll need for today's assembly as far as tools go. And then for our parts, we have our rear support bracket here. It should come pre-assembled in the bag along with the seat. And then we've got our tractor seat here. There is a there's main hardware that connects to the seat post here. That's going to consist of the locking sleeve, washer, nut, and bolt. And then on the rear here, we've got two sleeves that we're going to connect our rear support bracket to, the nuts to lock those down, and then a washer under each side. And then to install all of this together, we've got our seat post up top here. And this seat post, we're going to install the front large sleeve here on the top, and then on the back here, we're going to be installing our rear support bracket. So our first step here is we're going to work with our rear support bracket. This quick release lever is going to come pre-installed in the bag. So what we're going to do is we have the lever on one side and we have the locking nut on the other. We're going to loosen this locking nut until it comes off. Set that to the side and then slide our quick release through. That's going to allow us to set our U-bracket to the side. And then I like to go ahead and reinstall this nut so we don't lose that during assembly. So next step here is we're going to install the support bracket onto the frame here. So there's two smaller sleeves in the rear that we mentioned earlier. You can work these in or turn these sideways and then slide the bracket in. I found it a little bit easier to just go ahead and remove one side. So I'm going to remove the nut here by hand, and that's going to allow me to slide the sleeve up, and I've set the washer to the side. So what I'm going to do now that I've got this off, I'm going to move to this side here. I'm going to point my rear support bracket straight up to the sky, and then I'm going to try to slide it into this sleeve here. And if it's not sliding in, what you might need to do is just loosen this nut just a little bit and then kind of work it back and forth, and slowly working its way back in. And I'm just going to continue to work it back and forth. And there we've got it too far through, and that's fine. We're just going to push it back until it's roughly flush with this sleeve here. And on the other side, we've already taken this sleeve off. What we can do is go ahead and slide this onto the bracket. Again, trying to have it around flush with that side. We can rotate this up and then install the sleeve onto this side. So now we've got our bracket on. It's clearly not tight, and you can see from here it's not centered. I have more sticking out here on this side, and I don't have any on this side. I want to try to get this as centered as possible. It's going to make the assembly process a little bit easier. So all I've done there is I've worked this back and forth, and now I've got just a little bit of that bracket sticking out on either side. Now I do want this bracket to be still sticking straight up. So I'm going to leave it in that position. I'm going to reinstall my washer and my nut on this side. And very important here, I don't want to tighten these up yet. I'm just starting them in this position. We're going to need to make some angle adjustments to this bracket later on. So next we'll go ahead and get to the seat post and install this assembly onto the trike. So I've got our seat here with the rear bracket installed, and I've got our seat post already installed on our frame. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and install the seat on the seat post. So again, we talked about this rear bracket that we installed here. So that makes this our front bracket. So I've got this silver sleeve with a round hole in it, and I'm going to drop that onto the black post that's on the seat post. And right there, I want to push that down until it fully seats. And right there, it's all the way down. I'm not going to tighten that just yet. I'm going to go ahead and grab our U-bracket that we took off earlier, and I'm going to grab the quick release lever that we took off earlier. And because we left this bracket loose in the front and rear, we're able to make adjustments So right now, this bracket is sitting a little bit too far back. So I'm going to slide this up in, and I'm going to slide a quick release through. You just need to line the hole up between black bracket, and both of these will be blank for you. We have an orange, there we go. Just need that to move up just a little bit. So you can see it's a little bit, this rear support bracket is still a little bit too far back, and it's making it difficult to feed through. But now that we've got it started, we should be able to thread this through. There we go. Perfect. So it's threaded it through one side. Now I need to get it through this, so you should see the threads just popped through there. So now we're going to grab the lock nut and just start that by hand. And we don't want to tighten that just yet. We got that on there loosely. And that's all the hardware we're going to need for this assembly. At this point, this is where we need to look at the angle of this bracket. So it's very important that this bracket is not sitting straight up and down or have negative angle to it or sitting flat here. We want to make sure that that bracket is pointing to the center bottom of the seat and then pointing back to the rear axle of the trike. So this angle is a good angle. So what I'm going to do is I still got to tighten the 3 nuts here. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten up a quick release on the rear, and that's going to lock my angle in place. And the way I'm doing that is I'm holding this nut by hand and I'm spinning the lever, and then I'm going to spin that until there's some resistance to close it. So there, I've closed the lever. That's locked in place, and this is a little more solid, but it's still not quite tight enough. But my angle is good because, again, I'm pointing at the bottom of the rider here down to the rear axle of the frame. So now I'm going to take my 14mm wrench that we talked about earlier, and at this point I like to start in the front. So I'm going to take my 14mm wrench. I have the nut on this side here, and I'm going to push down just a little bit on the front of the seat just to make sure that it's fully seated. And then I'm going to go ahead and tighten this nut. Okay, there we go. That's good and tight. Now we've got our rear support nuts here. These again are finger loose. So same thing, I'm going to use that 14mm wrench, and I'm just going to tighten these 2 all the way up. And with the wrench provided, there's not a lot of room to work. It could take just a minute. So what would be helpful here to speed this along would be a 14mm socket and wrench. Just give you a little bit more room to work and make this move a little bit quicker. So here, I've got one side done, and then I'm just going to come around and tighten the other side as well. And with just that side tight, you can see that this assembly is much tighter, and as the rider sits here, we're going to be well supported in the rear and well supported in the front. And that's how you install your tractor seat on our Pro Series trikes. And again, very important to make sure that the angle of this bracket is installed correctly. If you have any questions or yours is not lining up properly, feel free to give us a call at the tech support group for Amtrike, 1-800-838-1845, extension 117. Thanks so much.